Hello, my name is Clark and welcome to Programming Lab number 2. I haven't received yet a feedback for Programming Lab number 1, so please bear with no or slight improvements, okay? So in Programming Lab number 2, we're going to create a class called a rectangle, and it should have a floating point data members, length and width. And it should have the following member functions: set length, set width, perimeter, area, show, and same area to check the same area. Okay, so we are tasked to create this program in C++. Aside from that, we need to create two rectangle objects and therefore set their length and width. It seems like in this requirement we don't need to ask the users for the input. We also need to display rectangle area and its area and perimeter. We also need to print message if the rectangle 1 and 2 are the same or have the same area. Video walkthrough will be available after this one. This is the project location. Software requirements, again, it's C++ 17. Compiler, I'm using Clang version 10. Again, if you want to run this on Windows, please use the Windows/.vs code and replace that what we have here. So again, here are the project requirements, which I discussed earlier: class rectangle, data members length width, member functions, and again, we need to have two rectangle objects, display area perimeter. Again, check if the same area, reset the length and width of the first rectangle. Again, check if they have the same area, and display. For the UI requirements, just print the output in console. Program flow, there's no user input. We just execute the program. It creates a object from class rectangle. It does that 2 times, and then we set the length and width for 2 rectangle objects. We then display area and perimeter for both. Inside of that, it should calculate area and perimeter for both. Aside from that, we again display if the 2 rectangles have the same area. We now then reset the length and width of the first rectangle object and then display 2 rectangles if they have the same area. Okay, for future improvements, I know these are the requirements for the definitions for the function names, but I think it's better to also have a one standard, so camel case, and then for set length width, and then look, we have to capitalize L. And then for area, we should at least put calculate area and calculate perimeter. And also instead of show, we could just say print area and perimeter instead of same area, because this is true or false. It's better to have the is word, so is same area, true or false. Okay, now let's move on to the code. In the code, again, we will have iOS stream to have this std out, string to have string. We don't really need this io manip, I think, in this case, because I did not use this time around. Then we have the class rectangle. We do have a data member variables. We have the float length, float width. I added an extra one for object name to identify the object that we're gonna print out. And next I added an extra constructor for the rectangle class. Again, this is to set the rectangle object name. Next, we do have implemented the set length of the rectangle. To set the length, we just pass a parameter, and then that parameter should assign the value to this length data member variable here. It goes with the set width function. It should pass as a parameter, and then it should be assigned to the data member variable width. Again, both of these are void, so it does not return anything. It just sets the value for the data member variable. So in this perimeter function, so we already see it has a float. It means it will return a float data type, and this is the formula is 2 times the parentheses of length plus width. For the area, it would be the same, return the float data type, and the formula for that is length times width. And the show function, though, we use a std out, and we just print this for the user, and the area of the rectangle name, this will print out the object name. It will be rec1 and or rec2 depending on the object name created, and also it will print the area. In the other line, it will print the perimeter. So in the next function we have is the same area function. It will return an integer data type, but in this case it will return 1 or 0. It's just another way to have a boolean to say this is true or false. It's a nifty trick. Okay, so here we can see that we have an if statement, and this if statement requires the rectangle class, and then we use this scoping operator to access the rectangle class, and then access the area, and then now we want to compare that to the rectangle that was passed in the function, rectangle object that was passed in the function, and the area from the method that we have. And then if both of them are equal, meaning the rectangle class that was called and the rectangle that was object that was the rectangle object that was called, that was calling this function, and if it's the same with the rectangle object that's being passed as a parameter, it would return 1. And this would notify the user that it is true or false, else it's false. We also created a print same area, and this one passes just a parameter, an object, and then again the first CL would get the object that's calling the print same area with this scope resolution operator, and then print the object name to just say what area it is, and again show the area. This is an extra output so that the user would know that, hey, this is it does really have a same area, instead of just saying, oh, it's same, it's not. Okay. The next cout is for the object that was passed as a parameter. We also get the object name and also calculate again the area to check. And we're using the same thing if we have the same area function here. If it's equal to 1, we just add an extra output for the user. Instead of saying just 1, he will definitely know that their areas are the same with this console output. And else, their areas are not the same. Emphasis with NOT capitalized. And now we go to our main function, the one that runs the program. The first thing we do is instantiate a class. So, and we create an object named rec1, and we also put a string there to as an identifier called rec1. Go also with the other rectangle named rec2. Okay. Again, in the requirements, we have to first set the length and width with 5 and 2.5 respectively, and we display the area and perimeter. And then next, the second rectangle object, we were required to set the length and width with 5 and 18.9, and then we need to show those area and perimeter. And next, we need to check if again the first rectangle and the second rectangle, if they have the same area. And then we now reset the values of the first rectangle to length 15 and width 6.3, and then this is an extra output so that the user know that we did change the length and width. And this is a hard code, bad practice. Oops, sorry. Also, next is this is rec to check the same area again and print it out. So that's it for the code discussion. Let's try running the program. Let's put this up. And let's first try to build that. Run build test. Okay, now we're good. We can just run the program with this bash command, and there you go. So as you can see, we get this first rectangle, second rectangle, and just to check their area before comparing them. And then here's the output that would be helpful for the user. They're not the same. This is the hard-coded. Again, bad practice, should be changed. I'll change that after this video. And now we have both rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 have the same area. And now the results are the same. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to suggest and give me feedback for further improvements. Thank you. Bye bye.